I'll make sure it actually comes up. Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. We are live in the group. I am here with a very special guest today, Lucy Hutchings. She is here to talk to us about I think the topic that is on more people's minds right now than anything else I've talked to anybody about in the last few years, which is weight loss for perimenopausal women, women over 40, women over 50, and beyond. So,
Yes.
welcome, Lucy. I'm very happy to have you here, not only
Yay.
for the group to get so much from your knowledge and experience, but I hit perimenopause last year. I'm 47, and my body is just not responding the same as it used to. So, please let us know how you got into this space and what you do with clients and give us the whole intro.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited about being here. And yeah, I also turned, 46, but when I turned 45, I really, really noticed the changes happening. And it actually can happen a lot earlier for a lot of women. So if you're in your late 30s, you may have noticed some changes already happening, and it goes all through your 40s, 50s, beyond, because all the things that we're going to talk about tonight, they really can, or today, depending on where you are, they really they really affect us basically past 40 and beyond. But I've been a registered dietitian for 18 years, and for the last 4 years I've really focused on women's health because that is where that is the most meaningful to me, since I know the challenges that everybody's going through. I know the challenges I have faced too, as when I hit my 40s, and then, the belly fat, the brain fog, the hormonal shifts, the mood, all the things are happening. And for a lot of women, it kind of comes on sudden, and we don't even have a lot of warning ahead of time because the conversation hasn't been real loud in social media and everything until recently. So a lot of women are kind of coming into this blindsided. That's what I've noticed.
Absolutely. Yes, as far as I know, no one in my mother's generation ever talked about this. The
Exactly.
like menopause was just something that you go through and you deal with it and you move on with your life. I never heard anyone talk about it. And now it's like I'll go to like a business, event and everyone's talking about weight gain
Right.
and menopause and the bloating and just all the things that go along with it. So I think it's a conversation that we just need to be having so that you don't feel like you're the weird one or that you're going through this alone or that it's your body or your fault. That it's really something we as a collective are going through. And there are things that we can do to really support our bodies through this whole process. So what
Yeah.
what what is it about this stage of life in particular that makes it harder for us
Mm.
to lose the weight?
Yeah, exactly. There are so many things that make it feel like now the weight doesn't move. Now all the things that you used to do maybe to manage your weight no longer work, or maybe you never even had a weight problem and now it's happening. And a lot of times it happens in the midsection in our belly, and there's a good reason for that. And I want to just mention too that I'm super happy that this is becoming more of a conversation that we hear, like you said, when you go to a business event, when you go anywhere, right? A lot of women are talking about it. The thing that breaks my heart, though, is that when I hear people talk about it, I hear them talk about it in a really frustrated, negative way. Like they're angry at perimenopause, like she's the enemy. And I really want to start having people shift that, because there's a lot that we can do. It doesn't have to be miserable. And if it is miserable, then there's probably some things that we can do to shift that,
Right.
right? And so some of the things that make it really hard at this time of life is that we're really busy. So if you're, late 30s, 40s, 50s, you might be at the peak of your career. You might be like doing a lot of work. You might have a lot on your plate. And also, a lot of us have like teens and kids or growing, maybe young adults. in our lives that cause a lot of stress.
Yes.
And like there's a
I
lot of
know
stuff going.
you have 3 that you homeschool.
Yes,
So
I
you can
homeschool
definitely
3.
relate to that.
Exactly. My oldest is a teen and it's getting really busy. There's definitely a lot of stress around that. And then there's also the aspect of caring for elderly parents. I was caring for my grandmother until she passed away at 101. So, like, we end up with so much on our plate. So now we've got stress, which gives, that's the cortisol. That's the cortisol, the hormone, the stress hormone. Then we've got inflammation just that's built up from over the years of our lifestyle, of our, food habits. It just kind of happens in our typical American lifestyle. We've got more cravings. We've got challenges with sleep, more insulin resistance. These are all the things that kind of creep up combined with our busy, crazy lifestyle. And it's just a perfect storm for making perimenopause and menopause a complete disaster.
And do you think that, hormones aside, do you
Mhm.
think women go through these kind of bigger changes because we tend to take more on, we tend to take care of other people, and we just kind of have this different kind of load that men tend to have?
100%. It is very different. I think that, when I'm working with the ladies that I work with, I notice for sure that what they're feeling is that they don't have time to take care of themselves. They feel like there's so many other things to do in life. There's so much caregiving that has to happen, whether it's their career or their job or family, friends, whatever. It just all piles on, and there is no time left to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
That's a lot of women feel that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you work with women, and you tend to work with women over 40, this sort of particular age group
Yeah.
that's going through these hormonal changes, what are some of the most common sort of frustrations, symptoms? What are the
Mm.
most common things that women are going through at this period?
To kind of generalize it, like summarize it all up, is that they don't feel like themselves anymore. We look in the mirror, we don't recognize that body. So our body shape is changing. It's not just like
Yeah.
weight gain, but it's actually where the weight is accumulating. It's different. Our mood, like our patience is less. We
Mhm.
are much more short-tempered and direct, which, so there's pros and cons to that. So our kind of attitude and mood is changing. We're exhausted. There's a lot of exhaustion and feeling like, you wake up tired, you go to bed tired, um, and wired and tired, trouble sleeping. And of course, there's the typical hot flashes too that are just like super frustrating and interfere with sleep and can be, embarrassing and things. Um, but the belly fat, that's the one that I hear the most. That's the most like the one where women are like, I need to fix this.
Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit about the difference between the fat that can accumulate on the rest of your body in other stages of life, and then that particular fat that's right around the midsection? What is the difference
Mm.
in the reason behind it, and sort of how you go about addressing it as well?
Yeah, the belly fat is a little bit different. We also call it stress fat. That's another name for it, or hormonal fat. When we have that insulin resistance, so we've got too much insulin going on in our bodies are working too hard to regulate our blood sugar. And so we have more insulin on board. That is a fat storage hormone. So now and the way it stores fat is in the belly. So we've got that going on. We've got um, cortisol. So stress is another hormone that stores fat. So the more stress we have, that's going to store that fat in the belly area. So specifically this fat that we call visceral fat, and it is more inflammatory. So it's the kind of fat that we really don't want medically, like, health wise, there's more correlations with like heart disease and just, worse stuff than maybe the fat that you get on your butt or your arms. And, that's actually like not that bad. So now the belly fat though is a little bit more what the medical literature would call like more dangerous. So yeah, it's the kind that we don't want.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, what are some of the sort of misconceptions or like what's some of the information out there that you think is not helpful for women trying to lose weight at this stage?
Yeah, so such a great question because there's so many. So I guess the one that I want to bring up first is that you can just cut calories to lose weight. And we are taught this from the very beginning. So our whole entire lives, we've been hearing it that we just need to eat less, exercise more. So if we take in less food and we move our body and burn calories more, then we'll lose weight.
Yeah.
And that, unfortunately, when you combine that method with perimenopause and menopause, that is a perfect storm for more inflammation, more insulin resistance, more stress on your body. And it's just not going to work. And that's why women come to me and they say, I haven't changed anything. All the things that I've done in the past, it's not working anymore. I used to be able to just like cut out, the junk food or cut calories and get to the gym more often and I would be able to get my weight back and now that doesn't work anymore
Yeah.
because your body has changed.
Yeah.
So we need a new tactic. It's not that it's broken. It's not that, you are doing the wrong thing. It's just that you had the wrong information and those strategies were designed for, a 20 something year old. And even then they're not great strategies, but is not going to work for someone in midlife and beyond.
And I see all these male trainers out
Yeah.
there yelling on the excuse me, on the internet about just exercise more, just cut your calories. And it's really frustrating to have a million different people out there on Instagram or whatever your platform is telling you all every different piece of information that they are telling you is absolutely 100% the right thing to do. And you
Yeah.
are trying everything and your body not only is not losing, but consistently gaining. It's a very frustrating period. And then I feel like the stress of not being
Mhm.
able to lose weight just compounds because now you have
Yeah.
another thing to stress out about. So, can you
Yeah,
talk a little
exactly.
bit about how, like, we can't take stress out of our lives for the most part? We've
Right.
got to have kids that we take care of and we got to pay the bills and all that. Can you talk a little bit about how we can sort of manage the stress so that it doesn't show up as that visceral fat?
Absolutely. Because you're right. We're not saying that you should live in a stress-free bubble and never have stress around. I mean, I run a business, raise three kids, we homeschool. I mean, I've got all the stress, but it's how we respond and it's how we react and it's how we take care of ourselves that is going to make the difference of whether that turns into cortisol that stores belly fat or not. So, I think the first, there's several things that we can do, but I think the overall, like, all right, what is the message here? And it is, can you raise yourself up on the priority list a little bit?
Mm,
Even just a tiny bit is going to help. So bring yourself up because a lot of times we're at the bottom of the priority list. We are last. We
yeah.
are taking care of ourselves last, and half the time we don't ever get there. So bring ourselves up a little bit and start taking care of ourselves because the name of the game in perimenopause and menopause is nourish your body and work with your body. Take care of your body, not fight your body, not restrict, not cut calories. So, in order to kind of process that stress, we have to start just shifting our mindset to realize that we're important. We need some self care. We need some time to actually take care of ourselves. And it can be really small little things. Like it could be taking a short walk, it could be taking a few minutes at night to write in a journal or to do a little bit of deep breathing or focused breathing. I mean, I do that in the shower or when I'm doing dishes or when I'm driving. It doesn't have to be this time-consuming thing that like, oh, now we have to add something else to the list.
Right.
It just can be right, small things like taking a breath before you start eating right there. That's where we could start.
Yeah. And I'm sure, most people in this group have heard that from me a million times.
Good.
As moms and busy people, like I think that we've been eating on the go for way too many years because again, no one ever taught us that
Yes.
your body doesn't like to eat in that state. And so the way we do things is just as important as what we're doing, like what we're eating, right? The way that we're
Yeah.
eating. So what are just some like quick, easy, healthy habits that someone could add today? Obviously, you know, really diving into this is a deeper issue that is why people work with you, right?
Yeah.
But like as far as something people could leave here and go, okay, I'm going to start doing this couple of things. What are like your biggest tips on that?
Okay, so I think one thing, like food wise, nutrition wise, that makes the biggest difference and is like biggest bang for your buck is to start the day with protein. Prioritizing protein at the beginning of the day with your breakfast. And that right there is going to make so many things easier. It's going to allow your body to avoid that blood sugar roller coaster because oftentimes, even when we start with something like oatmeal, it can be a big carb load on your body first thing in the morning. And especially if it's toast, bagels, cereal, that's just such a big dose of carbs and sugar right at the start that then you end up on a blood sugar roller coaster for the rest of the day. But if we can prioritize protein, you can still have those foods. It's just with the protein. So it might be eggs, it might be leftovers from the night before, but that right there is going to help you get started on the right foot and you're going to feel so much better. You're going to feel so much more stable and less shaky. I mean, less, cravings are going to be less. So many
Yeah.
things.
Like somewhere along the way, Mr. Kellogg
Yes.
got everybody to think that breakfast is supposed to be sweet.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
you could just say that. You know what? If we could just start with a savory breakfast
yeah,
and then we can improve from there, but that's the best thing to start with.
a lot of breakfast I see is dessert.
Absolutely.
I'm like,
It's
how did we take
pure
this
just
dessert and start telling people that it's breakfast? Like cinnamon rolls and
Pop Tarts. We're feeding our kids Pop Tarts.
yes, not only
Yeah.
sugar, but food dyes, chemicals, really nothing
Artificial
of actual
flavors.
substance for your body, and what you put in your body first thing in the morning is what your body uses for fuel for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So we as a society, we need to start shifting our mindset around food and why uh it's weird to have like a bowl of soup for breakfast or
Right. Or
something
some leftovers
savory.
from dinner.
It's really I think a big mindset
Yeah.
switch, and I think a lot of us were just raised on cereal.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
so then your
Me.
body starts to crave it because that's what it knows first thing in the morning.
Right. It's like you just established that it's like part of our culture,
Yeah.
and so then it's just how it is. So that's the biggest, and you can even have a savory breakfast that is breakfasty. I mean, when you think of an omelet, like I like an omelet with just a bunch of veggies in it.
Yeah.
So, that's not sweet and it's still
Yeah.
breakfast.
If you throw an egg in there, it becomes breakfast magically.
Right. I just like yesterday morning, I took the leftovers from taco night and threw that in a pan. And oh, and then there was leftover zucchini that was sauteed, threw that in there. And I think there was some leftover sweet potatoes, threw that in there, and then just cracked two eggs over it.
Voila, it's
It
breakfast.
was a delish and added salsa. It
Yeah.
was a delicious breakfast.
Huevos rancheros.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I know we can't be specific because each person is different, but if we're gonna count our grams of protein
Mm.
in general? What do you think would be a good amount at breakfast?
Yeah, a super general number to kind of start with, it would be like 30 grams. I say that in the morning. So for some people, that's a lot at breakfast first thing. They can't do
Yeah.
that. And so that's fine. Maybe you could do 15 or 20 grams as your breakfast, and then 10 grams as a snack
Mm.
between your breakfast and lunch, and then you've hit your goal. And it doesn't have to be hard, and you don't have to do it all at once. You can start slow. That's the thing, is I have learned over the years working with so many women that starting getting yourself overwhelmed is a terrible idea. And so if it seems like that's too difficult, then let's dial it back. And that's why I say, don't tell yourself that you can never have a bagel again. You can never have a bowl of cereal again. Like, are they the best choice for gut health and for inflammation and for everything? No, but the second we start restricting, it just throws our mind into this place um, of like we're not getting enough, and then we just want it even more. It's like deprivation. It's not a good place to be. So I never tell anybody at this point to restrict fully things, but let's start adding things. Let's start supporting, like that breakfast that I had with the ground beef and the eggs and the veggies. There was no I was not hungry after that. It was such a huge breakfast. I put it on social media and people were like, "How do you eat all that?" Because it looks like a large amount of food. I was so full that I just wasn't interested in, candy or
Yeah.
sugary drinks or something like that. So we want to like kind of push the sugary stuff and the carby stuff out just by nourishing with like lots of nourishing foods, proteins and vegetables and things that are gonna fill you up, help you feel satisfied and nourished, taste really good, and make you feel satisfied.
And so I am totally with you on the fact that people are like, how do you eat that much? Do you find that most of the women you work with are under eating when they come to you?
Oh my gosh, totally. Like, we do a food log at the
Mhm.
beginning just to see where they're at with what they're eating and their macros and everything, just to get a sense. And they are way undernourished, way, way undernourished all the time. And I think for the most part, women that are trying to get healthy or lose weight or try and make changes, they are undernourishing themselves completely. They might be even proud of the fact that they can have a coffee, maybe even add some collagen powder to it, and get by until afternoon. And then they'll have, a lunch that's small just to get them by until dinner. They'll have their dinner and they'll be happy that they kept their calories low all day and their intake low all day. And then, when we start working together, I'm really working on getting the nourishment up. We actually want to reach your calorie level. We are not trying to do this calorie deficit thing. I know that's like what everybody talks about on social media, but that doesn't work when you are trying to balance your hormones, heal your gut, and improve insulin resistance. It's what you put in your body that makes a difference. It's not the calories. So we really want to actually make sure we're nourishing fully if we want real results, lasting results.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've literally seen people on the internet say it does not matter what you eat as long as you hit a certain number of calories. And this is why we are so sick as a
Yeah,
country because the shitty food is really too available to everybody. I mean, you
and
can drive down
convenient.
the road and hit 20 different places and pick up all the processed food that you want. The food that's good for us, they've somehow made harder to get, harder to make for our
Yes.
families. And so it's like we have to do this whole again shift as a society away from processed, easy, junky food just to hit some calorie number and really get out of this mindset of restricting because I grew up in the 90s where everything was low fat,
Yes, me too.
cutting fat, and then everything was Atkins and keto, cutting carbs. It's always been a cutting calories thing. So we've always been taught cut, cut, cut. And what you're
Right.
saying is the women that come to you, you get them to add more, 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 but
Yeah,
more nutrient dense, nourishing foods.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We want the healthy fats. We
Yeah.
want healthy proteins. We want lots of vegetables and fruits and nuts and seeds and things that are actually going to give you like good calories. They're going to give you nutrients that your body needs in order to make hormones so that you can
Yeah.
have beautiful skin and hair and less brain fog and like, feeling good throughout the day. I mean, we have to feed our body in order
And
to do that.
do we fear carbs?
I know. That has been that's it's just been so crazy. So here's the thing that I have learned through my practice with my clients that cutting carbs is actually not helpful. And I know that there's a lot of research that supports keto, and I agree with it. I think it is great. There's a lot of situations where cutting carbs can help medically. It can help men a lot.
Mhm. Yes.
And I have a lot of great success with men that are on keto.
Yeah.
Women in perimenopause and menopause does not work to, well, I shouldn't say it as a blanket statement, but what I have found with the women that I work with is that keto and low calorie or low carb, it just doesn't work. It creates more stress on the body. It creates restriction. It puts us in a diet mentality, and it's just miserable. And I think a lot of the women that I work with too, they're like, I just don't want to live a life where I can't have an ice cream once in a while, or I can't have like a cookie once in a while. It's just that's just not fun.
And even fruit, like people are told not to
Right.
eat fruit because there's too many carbs, or not to eat, you know,
Like starchy
vegetables.
vegetables or like
Yeah.
sweet potatoes and beets and carrots. Like, no, that's
And
that's not.
this creates like uh, more stress
Mm,
around eating, that we need to really work on removing the stress around eating, like trying to help people remove that fear, because every time we get afraid to eat something or we feel guilty
yeah.
or shame over eating it, our bodies sense that, and our digestion shuts down, the inflammation goes up. Like there's literally, I heard a term called shameflammation. Like every time we shame ourselves for something, our inflammation in
Oh,
our body goes up.
yes.
So really trying to get women to say, I want to eat more, and I want to
Hmm.
eat more foods that are nourishing for my body. So I think when people hear carbs, either they go straight
Yeah.
to like cookies and donuts, right? Or like my mind goes to fiber filled foods, which
Right.
are so good. So it's almost like there should be two different words
Yes,
for those
yes,
kind of foods, right? So we're
right.
talking about not processed whole food
Exactly.
carbs. So,
Exactly.
you know, fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts, rice, quinoa, lentils, like these are such wonderful carbohydrates that our body is really going to thrive on.
Yeah,
And then those
exactly.
other things are treats. And I don't like to say cheat either, like cheat meal or cheat day.
Right.
It's a treat. And we can all have treats. It's not, I think cheating is sort of a negative connotation, like we're doing something
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. I definitely dislike like the whole cheat day. I mean, there's nothing wrong. Like I have a client, she's going away this weekend because it's Mother's Day and she was like worried about all the things, and I'm like what we work on are the everyday, like the everyday habits. Not, okay, you go out and you have a Mother's Day brunch and you eat whatever you want. That you get to do that. You get to make that choice.
Yeah.
There's no like feeling guilty about it afterwards. This is just part of life. Now, I have gotten to the point in my life where I can look at that Mother's Day brunch and I can be like, how I really don't want the bloating. I really don't want to feel like junk afterwards, but I get to make that choice. Like
Yes.
I'm coming from a very healthy place of I could eat that if I wanted. I just choose to maybe focus on the more protein part of the meal because I just don't want that. The other thing I wanted to mention about carbs, though, is that what I found with working with perimenopause women is that it helps that having carbs with their food, their meals, actually helps with sleep. It actually
Mm,
helps with decreasing cravings, especially like those afternoon sugar cravings. A lot of times they're just not, and they might be having a big nourishing meal, but they didn't add the carbs to it. Like they're having a big salad with healthy dressing and protein on top, and maybe they didn't put any intentional carbs on it because it's easy to skip when you're having a meal like that. And then there's sugar cravings afterwards. So, same with breakfast. I have found that if my clients or myself are having just eggs, maybe even eggs with some non-starchy vegetables like zucchini or asparagus or something, there's still cravings afterwards because it's just not quite balanced enough. So I have found that adding the carbs, the good carbs that are, fiber filled carbs, nutrient filled carbs, really does help to stabilize them, help balance them throughout the day, and really improves their sleep too.
that is such a good point, and I think that takes a lot of the fear away.
Yeah.
Not only saying you we don't need to avoid them, but you actually want to think about adding them. And I have experienced that. If I have, just like you were saying, if I had like a salad with chicken for dinner, I don't
Yeah.
sleep well.
Mm,
And but if I had that same salad with like, a half cup of lentils or quinoa or sweet
yes.
potatoes in there, totally fine. And I've sort of noticed that about my own life. So clearly that is something that our bodies respond to carbohydrates
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
beneficial way when they're the right carbs.
Yeah, and I do have to work with when I work with somebody, most of the time I am working with them to help stop that fear of food.
Yeah.
So there's a fear of fats, there's a fear of
Yeah.
carbs, there's a fear of, potatoes,
Yeah.
there's a fear of like just some even meat. There's a fear of meats.
Yeah.
There's so much fear involved in choosing foods to eat for their meals that it's creating so much stress. And so that's part of what we're doing is just removing the fear,
Yeah.
being able to eat more freely, have freedom around food.
Yes. And so of course, in this whole conversation, that's a lot of it has to do with our hormones. So what actually happens to our hormones when
Mm,
we go from cycling every month to perimenopause that is
mm,
creating these changes in our bodies?
yeah, that's a good question that we didn't really touch upon a lot yet. And that is that these hormones, the sex hormones, are changing as we go through perimenopause and menopause. And so that estrogen is on a roller coaster at first, and then it really decreases. Typically, it is, just by the time you go through perimenopause, our estrogen has tanked, our progesterone has tanked, and these, without the protection of estrogen, we are more at risk for that insulin resistance. So our blood sugar is harder to control. We're more at risk for some heart disease type things. We're more at risk for bone loss. We're more at risk for muscle loss. These are things that estrogen plays a big role in kind of stabilizing our mental health. It
Yeah.
plays a role in so many aspects. And so as it leaves, we're left without so much protection. And then we end up with more inflammation, more blood sugar instability, just, you know, more risk of bone health problems, gut health problems. It, so many things. And so it is hard. Like it's a reality that this is happening and that, our bodies are shifting, our hormones are shifting. And these are big changes that happen.
And it's not something that's our fault or like we did anything wrong, right? This
Right.
is what every single woman since the dawn of time has to go through. And our hormones are to be appreciated at the end of the day because it's how we have children. None of us would be here
Mm,
if it wasn't for these hormones. And at this stage, I think people sort of start to put some kind of blame on themselves without realizing that this really is something. I don't care if you work out every day, eat the best diet in the world, have no stress in your life, and you live on a beautiful desert island. Like you're still going to
Mm,
have these hormonal changes, and really talking about it and getting support with it, I think is so important because we don't know how to deal with these things. We were never taught how to. So if you, to these women that are out here listening and maybe they feel they're having these hormonal fluctuations, is there a way to completely deal with this naturally, or do you, what's your opinion on hormonal replacement therapy? Is this
mm,
a good thing for most people, or is there something that you would advise people on how to make that decision to go
yeah.
naturally or with HRT?
Yeah, that's a great question that a lot of women are very confused about because there's so many, still like lingering myths about it.
Yeah.
Because, some things have happened in the past
Yeah.
that a lot of the studies were not even correct. But in any case, at this point, it's come a long way.
Yeah.
And HRT can be so helpful to women going through this. I think that it's really important to combine it though with healthy lifestyle and eating habits and all the things that you can do to support yourself. It's kind of like, when you try and just, you probably talk about this in your community, when you try and just like throw a probiotic on top of a poor eating and expect that your gut health is somehow going to be improved just because you're adding the probiotic, but you're still doing all these other things to create problems in your gut health. It's kind of like that. Like, it's not going to solve all your problems if you're still, stressed to the max and you're still drinking alcohol and causing inflammation. You're still like, not sleeping, all these things. But combined, it can be a great, great tool. And I do recommend working with a practitioner that knows what they're doing because I think there are a lot of PCPs out there that might just be like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll prescribe you some hormones. And they don't really know the best ways to test and the best ways to follow up and monitor. And so I, and then women can kind of end up with inappropriate prescriptions and, um, not the best experience. So I think it is important if you're not feeling like you're getting the best support, find a practitioner that knows what they're doing and can actually give you the right support. And then it's a beautiful synergistic thing to combine supporting your body, nourishing your body, and providing the HRT at the same time.
I love that answer. It's so many women are afraid of hormones causing breast cancer. This was a
Right.
study done, I think in the 80s, that came out and
Yeah,
said that hormone replacement was linked to breast cancer, and it the study was not accurate, uh,
right.
but it was the information that got out to everybody, and you know, my mom's generation, nobody did it because they were too afraid, and it was really the generation that all had to suffer
Hmm.
through menopause. And hopefully now people are getting the information out there that that was not correct. There's all new studies and information out there now. And of course, it's an individual choice. You know, maybe it's not appropriate
Yeah,
for every single person. And I want to just reinforce what you said about finding someone who is a menopause specialist, because your regular old doctor was not taught a single thing about menopause in medical school.
right.
So it does take a little bit of effort, but finding someone that is going to listen to you and actually do the testing that needs to be done and support you, I think is just so huge for women, because I think we've just felt like we've been kind of riding this roller coaster alone, you know, through our cycles and through hormonal changes and emotional things, and you know, taking care of the kids and all the stuff. Like having someone that supports you is just, uh, I think part of it is just like you can take
Yeah.
a big sigh of relief because this person knows what they're doing, and they want to help you.
It would be so wonderful if everybody could find somebody in a practitioner that would actually support them because the stories that I have heard from women that go to their doctors is heartbreaking. You don't know whether to cry or laugh sometimes that they're so ridiculous. And so in general, women go, they get disregarded and dismissed and maybe put on an antidepressant because they're dealing with perimenopause symptoms. And instead of actually dealing with the symptoms, instead they're just labeled as the anxiety or depression. So they end up on medications like that, or they're just completely dismissed and it's like, oh no, there's nothing wrong with you. This is just part of aging. Just, try harder, go home, lose some weight. That's a great one.
Yeah.
Or the latest is you just need to go on a GLP-1 and you'll be all set. And that one is very frustrating as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the hot topic. Like, if you have not heard of a GLP-1, you are
Living under a
literally
rock.
living on a desert island. So let's talk about that. There's
Yeah,
way more information, true, false, everywhere in between about GLP-1s out there than most people need to be hearing and seeing every day. We're kind of bombarded by it. So,
exactly.
as a professional, what is your opinion on the GLP-1s?
So here's my thing about GLP-1s. I think that there's a lot of great things that can be done with these medications, but they need to be used very carefully. And what I hate seeing and what happens all the time is that it's just used as, well, oh, you're struggling with your weight. You've got stubborn weight. So the doctor will just say, here, you should just go on a GLP-1 instead of figuring out, well, what's the root cause of the stubborn weight? We 100% have to get to the root cause first before adding on any kind of GLP-1 or any kind of weight loss medication. We actually need to figure out, is it inflammation? Is it that you're not getting any sleep? Maybe you need some sleep support. Maybe it's that you're incredibly stressed and that cortisol is just way too high and you need to fix the cortisol issue because that can prevent the scale from moving. Maybe it's insulin resistance and we need to actually support your blood sugar. And there's so many things. Gut health, right? Of course, maybe we need to support your gut health instead of taking a GLP-1 medication that is going to reduce your appetite. And we just got through saying how women are already under eating, they're undernourishing themselves. We don't need something to then make us eat less than
Right.
what we're already eating, because that's not the issue. So, making ourselves eat less and slowing down our digestion so that we end up with a lot of constipation, that's not what we need when we're in perimenopause. So there are times when a GLP-1 is appropriate, but when you're in perimenopause and menopause and you're dealing with stubborn weight and you're dealing with feeling crazy, out of control, anxiety, depression, all these things, this is not the time to throw on a GLP-1 without any kind of support, because that's the other thing is they prescribe these GLP-1s and then send you home
Yeah.
and you're just giving yourself the shot or taking the pill and you're not supported in the least bit. It's it's a whole problem.
And we really haven't seen the long-term effects quite yet of the problems that these can cause down the road. And there is a place for these.
Mhm.
They're actually quite life-saving sometimes,
Absolutely.
but it must be paired with the appropriate support. Like, you're going to lose your muscle mass.
Yep.
We're already losing bone strength as we get older, and then that can exacerbate it. Like you said, it slows down the digestion. So I actually was listening to a woman the other day whose stomach is completely frozen,
Hmm.
so
I've
and
worked with them
unfixable.
too.
So
Yeah.
she'll never be able to move food through her stomach again. She can only have liquid. So there are side effects. I think that it has a place, but like, find somebody who is going to really support you with everything else that needs to be done
Right.
in combination. And I think for doctors right now, it's just too easy for them to go,
So
oh, here,
easy.
just take this and you will lose weight. And then everyone sees it as a uh, success, but we don't know what the negative effects are in the background. So
Yeah.
I hope that, with conversations like this, that women are taking away, like, I need to get my nutrition. I need to look at my stress. I need to look at my sleep. Like, what else is going on that I can
Mm,
address? And then if I still need it, it's there. But like, let's lay the
exactly.
foundation first before we jump
Yep.
into something that has side effects.
And make sure that you're getting all the testing done ahead of time that you need. Like I'm finding people getting on these GLP-1s without even getting their thyroid testing done. And and we don't want just, the simple thyroid test. We want a full thyroid panel because that has to be addressed before we start adding a GLP-1. And that's not being done. I think they're not even always really assessing their insulin resistance and their blood sugar ahead of time either, because that's the other thing that we don't really have time to go into much here. But when you get your blood sugar and they'll test maybe a fasting glucose or they'll test an hemoglobin A1C and they'll be like, oh, it's within normal limits, you're all set. But that doesn't show the true picture. That does not reveal insulin resistance. That does not show that your body might be having a hard time, but it's normal in the labs because your body is making up for it. Your body is
Mm,
just working extra hard to keep your blood sugar within the normal limits. So it's going to show up normal limits on your
mm,
labs. But we know that if you're struggling to lose weight, you have exhaustion, you are having sugar cravings. There's a lot of things that show us signs that maybe your body is actually working really hard to keep that blood sugar in within normal limits so that then when you start to
mm,
see it creep up, when your doctor says, "Oh, now you have prediabetes," that didn't just happen. That's been happening for maybe years, maybe decades. It just didn't show up yet. And so a GLP-1 is just not it's not fixing any root causes. It's like a band-aid that actually kind of creates more issues in the long run. So,
So I want to touch
yeah.
on what you said there about that the labs can look normal,
Hmm.
but you can have insulin resistance.
Yeah,
So what are some things that would show us that we have insulin resistance? Maybe it's not, pre-diabetic yet,
right.
but what are some signs that we could look for?
Stubborn belly fat. So if you're accumulating belly fat, that's a huge sign. If you have stubborn weight in general, like you've tried to lose weight and it's not coming off, if you are noticing things like strong sugar cravings, or somebody was just telling me the other day that sometimes she'll feel really shaky. She calls it like low blood sugar. Like maybe somebody's told you that you are hypoglycemic in the past. That's just unstable blood sugar. um, brain fog, like kind of all the symptoms of perimenopause are very much
Mm,
in line with insulin resistance. And yeah, it's just your body is just pumping out more insulin because it has to, and it's
mm,
going to cover it up. It's going to make it so that your blood sugar looks normal on labs, but actually isn't.
mm.
It's actually having a really hard time. Your body's having a really hard time. So we need to support that before adding any kind of like appetite suppressing type of
And
medication.
what are some of your go-to tips for addressing insulin resistance?
So in general, it's going to be like bringing yourself up on the priority list and doing more self-care
Yeah,
because it's going to look like getting more protein.
yeah.
We want to make sure that you're hitting your protein goals. It's going to look like getting some, it doesn't have to be big movement, but some movement. It can be gentle movement, particularly after meals is helpful.
Mhm,
But even if you get it during the day, like we don't need to be, add more rules here, but that will, after meals, a little bit of movement will help. It's fixing the sugar cravings because there's a root cause to sugar cravings too. So if you feel like you're addicted to sugar, which I hear from a lot of women, there's a reason for that. It's not just like your poor willpower. It has nothing to do with willpower. Sugar cravings are a sign that maybe you're not eating enough. Maybe you have too imbalance of proteins and carbohydrates and things. Maybe you're not getting enough sleep. Maybe you're having too much stress or other emotions that need some kind of a coping mechanism. But we have to figure out then what is it that you need. Maybe your cup is just not full. You haven't filled your cup. So we work a lot in that in my sessions about like, well, what can we do to make you feel like you are fulfilled and satisfied in mind, body, soul, like in all senses of that word. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of different things, but basically movement, nourishment, sleep, these are the big ones.
Yeah. How much, we all know we need to get a certain amount of sleep, but how much does sleep affect our hormones and our weight?
This is huge. There's a huge correlation, lots of studies between poor quality or poor quantity of sleep and insulin resistance and stubborn weight or even obesity. There's that correlation is very strong. And so that's a huge one that we want to work on. But basically, if you're not getting great sleep, if you're snoring, you have sleep apnea, you have elderly dogs that are keeping you awake. I hear that one a lot.
Mm,
Your husband is snoring, whatever it is, and you're waking up at 3 a.m. and your mind is just spinning and you can't ever get back to sleep. These are things that then create more insulin resistance the next day. Even if you are a totally normal, metabolically healthy person, you are going to be more insulin resistant the next day. So that's when we really want to be extra careful with, like, if
mm,
you had to pull an all-nighter because your kid was up all night, sick or something, then you really want to make sure, because the sugar cravings are going to be even stronger. That's when we want to make sure we're hydrated, we're getting plenty of healthy fats and proteins so that the sugar cravings are less. So, yeah, just making us more stressed if we're not getting good sleep. So, stress, more insulin. There's several things that happen when we don't get enough sleep that will just completely prevent the scale from moving. So,
mm.
that's a big one that we have to fix.
Yeah. Yeah. So this has flown by. I want to make sure that people get their questions in. There's some people watching live, so make sure and drop your questions in the chat. I'll see if I can actually see the chat because sometimes it just won't even let me see it. But also, I would love for you to share with people how they can find you if they want to be in your community and learn more from you.
The best place, my favorite place is my school community. It's on the platform called School, Skool. It is free. Um, and maybe can we drop a link to it or I can add it to the comments afterwards. But my
Yeah,
community is called Weight Loss After 40, and the handle is school.com/dietitian. But we can put that link in. And on socials everywhere, I'm at Lucy Hutchings RD. But my
awesome. Yes,
favorite place is my school community.
I'll drop that link here and then see, does anybody have any questions for Lucy? Burning weight loss questions. I think it's showing me. Yeah, hi.
And while you guys are thinking about your questions, I'll just mention that in that community, there's recipes. There's a 5 day no sugar challenge and it's all free.
Mm,
There's just lots of women in there that are working on this as well. They're working on weight loss that is sustainable, realistic, no diets, no restrictions, no calorie counting, no hours at the gym. It's real life type thing.
love it. It's a great community. The ladies in there are really sweet. I did um, an interview with Lucy for her community last week on gut
Yes.
health. If any of you missed that, you can comment bloating in the chat and I'll drop it. It was my 4 top ways to get rid of bloating, but we talked about
Yeah, all
million,
kinds of things. I
million
got
other things.
so much feedback on that.
It
People
was
absolutely loved your guest appearance in that community. So,
it was
yeah,
a
if
fun chat. Like we covered a lot. So if anybody
yeah.
wants that replay, let me know. This my thing seems to be frozen here. Oh, here we go. Let's see if we have any
I know
questions.
every time I do a live on Facebook, I find afterwards that people were commenting and leaving questions and I couldn't see them because I don't know, that's just Facebook.
It's Facebook. I know it. Facebook is giving me so much trouble lately. I just smile my way through it. Oh, Tina says she eats bean soup for breakfast. How about that? Getting the
Oh,
fiber
see?
and first thing
Look
in the
at that.
morning. Yeah.
Yes. And I do see a few comments. Oops. Let me see if I can quiet it. Here we go. All right. So somebody had also said no one finds the underlying issues. That was Melissa. Yeah, exactly. That's we kind of have to be a self-advocate. We have to make sure that our healthcare team, or the doctors that we're working with, are actually helping to find the root cause and not just giving us medications, not just saying, "Oh, you have heartburn, let's give you a medication for that." No, let's figure out, what is that caused from? Oh, you have indigestion, or you have high cholesterol, your triglycerides are high, like all the things. They're very well trained at knowing what medications to provide. Oh, your thyroid's off, all these things. But there's always a root cause. And
Oh,
we want to do our best to figure that out and support it. And of course, medication is important when sometimes that's just the only answer. But
and I sort of like to think of medication as like covering up the wound in the meantime, why, so we can stop the bleeding, but let's figure out why your symptom is happening so we can use
yeah,
the medication to just get you out of pain
right.
or out of suffering.
A
And then while
bridge.
we're using it, let's really figure out what's going on underneath. Kathy says,
Exactly.
how do you find the right doctor? I've been to so many and had so many tests done with no answers.
Mm.
Great
That
question.
one That one is hard. So I do lean towards a little more towards functional doctors, functional practitioners, naturopath doctors. They will do more of that investigation. They are very well trained on figuring out the root cause. So they're looking at it from that perspective rather than like typical conventional doctors, Western trained doctors. They're going to look at it as in, how can I fix this symptom? Whereas the functional doctor will look at it from the other side. And so even if you've gone to like a GI specialist, they're going to be looking for, they'll do the upper GI and the lower GI, and they'll do the tests, but a lot of times they don't find anything, and so then you're dismissed. Oh, you probably can speak a lot more to this, Marissa.
Well, I'm just like, I just had a client join my program today, and she has had so many bacterial infections her whole life. And she goes to doctors and they look and they're only looking for like one thing. And if they don't
Yeah,
see it, they tell you
yeah,
the tests look normal.
yeah.
I'm like, she said
Yes,
she
that's the
has
worst.
seen, dozens of doctors and they have all told her she is normal. But meanwhile, she can't get out of bed and is in massive pain all the time.
Yep, not normal.
And so the difference, our medical system is taught to match a symptom with a pill or with a procedure. Functional medicine doctors are actually taught to look for the root cause. And so I, with all of my clients, I always really encourage my clients to get a functional medicine doctor. Um, and really a functional medicine doctor and a menopause specialist.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe it takes a team, and I do believe even if you have to pay out of pocket, there's nothing more worth it than your health. We pay out of pocket to
Exactly.
go on vacation and to eat out and to buy things for our home, but really the things that are covered by insurance are not always the most helpful services. So finding someone that actually cares and is going to listen to you, like usually a functional medicine doctor, the original appointment is about 90 minutes. So they really
Mhm.
want to dive deep and get really
Yes.
underneath what's going on. So, finding a good doctor, but then also if you are trying to lose weight and cannot lose weight, finding a professional such as Lucy who works with women. That's what she does, and has great success at it. It's good. It's like taking a shortcut to where you want to go and saving so much frustration, so much time, so much energy, so much trial and error. That's
Mhm.
really what us coaches are here for, to impart what we've learned so you don't have to go through everything that we've had to go through with, trial and error. It takes a long time
Exactly.
to throw ideas at a wall and see if it sticks. And then you get more and more frustrated with each one.
Right. Because like with what we do, with what Marissa does, with what I do, when you see enough cases and you've helped enough people through these things, you know what works, what doesn't, what's worth your time. It it just makes a huge difference. There's some doctors that I, typically refer people to when they need a functional doctor or a naturopath doctor. So, that's the other thing is that I know who to connect people with when that's needed as well.
Yeah, which is incredible. It's like having a team is is so huge. It's like having all these people on your side that are rooting for you and supporting you. It's a good feeling. We tend to be the team for other people. So it's
Yeah.
nice to have the team supporting us too.
Yeah.
There is,
Exactly.
if you go to www.ifm.org, Institute of Functional Medicine, there's a whole list of
Mhm.
functional medicine practitioners there that might be in your area. But most people do telehealth now too, which is
Yep.
great. So you don't even have to have someone in your area.
Yep.
Yeah, great. Any other questions before we wrap it up? This has been incredible, and I feel like even just talking about it is huge because
Yep.
I think women just feel really alone in this period, and knowing that we all go through it, and it's no one is really immune from the
Yeah.
whole menopause cycle is comforting. So thank you for taking your time. You know, Lucy homeschools
Mm.
3 kids and has her, full-time coaching business. So she's very busy. So I appreciate you coming and sharing all of this with us.
Yeah. And I think just to bring it back to what we started with, it's really not about blaming yourself or about um, feeling like your body's broken. It really is about just finding a new strategy that supports your body. And so instead of fighting your body, we want to work with your body. We want to nourish your body. That's the shift in our minds that I want everybody to walk away from this with.
Yes, I love, love, love that. That's a good way to end. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you everyone for showing up for yourselves. I
Yep.
hope you learned a lot. And I think, if you still want to drop questions, if you're on the
Mhm.
replay, go ahead and drop questions and I can make sure that we get some answers for you. So thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Everybody have a wonderful evening and I'll see you all soon.
Thank you.